Hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Mike Roberts, and I want to welcome you to this snippet from the Song of Solomon. The Song of Solomon is a book in the Bible that not everyone is that familiar with. A lot of people have shied away from reading this book, let alone talking about it, but I believe this book of the Bible has a very important message for us, and it's a message that God wants us to hear and understand during this time. And I want to release a series of short snippets to hopefully help us understand the message of this book a little bit better. Now, the Bible tells us that King Solomon, was a very prolific writer. We know that he wrote most of the book of Proverbs. He wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. He wrote the Song of Solomon, and he wrote some of the Psalms. And the Bible tells us in 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 32, that Solomon wrote 3,000 Proverbs and 1,005 songs. Now, this song here is the only one the Bible really records for us. And I believe the reason it records this one, the very first verse in the book tells us this: the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. So Solomon, out of the 1,005 songs the Bible tells us he wrote, he considers this to be the Song of Songs. It seems that he considered this to be his masterpiece. So the Bible gives us this one as a selection of the songs that he wrote, and it's no accident they gave us his masterpiece. Again, this book has a very important message for us, and I believe if we're going to understand the message of the book, we have to understand what this book is. Now, some people have said it's an allegory that talks about the love that exists between a husband and wife, a married couple, and that's certainly true. The good thing about this book is that it is that, but it's not only that. It has other applications as well. And some have said, well, the Song of Solomon is an allegory that talks about the love that exists between God and the nation of Israel. That's also true. And some have said it talks about the love that God has for the church. That's also true. But primarily, I believe the Song of Solomon is this. And I believe we have to have this understanding if we're really going to be able to grasp the message that Jesus wants us to receive from this book. I believe primarily the Song of Solomon is a message from Jesus to you. You as an individual are the person that Jesus has written this letter to. And I believe we have to have the idea that we as individuals are who he's talking to if we're really going to understand the message of this book. As we know, Solomon wrote the book, obviously, and he wrote it as an allegory. And he is the bridegroom in the story he wrote. And there's a Shulamite maid who's becoming his bride in the story. And if we look at it that we are the Shulamite maid and Solomon is Jesus, then we see this, they use the word song, but it's more like a drama, kind of like a play. And I believe the important thing about it is we realize this is written to us. And in the series of snippets that are going to follow about this book, we're going to see that repeatedly Solomon took the Shulamite maid and he distinguished her from everybody else. There are other players in the story, but the most important players are Solomon and his bride. So you are the person that God has called to be his bride, and he's writing to you as an individual in this book. I don't believe the Song of Solomon is primarily a book to the corporate body as much as it is to us as individuals. It has applications that we'll see that apply to us as a corporate church, as God's people. But again, I believe most importantly, Jesus wants to reveal his heart to us through this book as individuals. It talks about the love story he wants to write with you as an individual. So that's my first snippet from this book. That kind of lays the groundwork for the message that I want to try to present and bring out from the Song of Solomon. Hope you guys can join me for more of these. I'll try to release at least one a week, and we'll try to get through this book together and deepen our understanding of the love that Jesus has for us, that Solomon talked about in his masterpiece song, the Song of Solomon.